Welcome to The Explainer. So, if you're a student, a researcher, or, pretty much anyone who writes anything, you are right in the middle of a massive shift thanks to artificial intelligence. Today, we're going to dig into how we can use this incredible new power without losing our academic and creative integrity.
I mean, let's be real. With tools like ChatGPT right at our fingertips, churning out text is easier than it has ever been. But this new power, it brings up a really big question. Where's the line between a helpful assistant and a tool that actually undermines what academic work is all about?
Okay, first, let's just make sure we're all on the same page. When we talk about these tools, we're talking about generative AI. Think of large language models, like ChatGPT. They've basically inhaled huge chunks of the internet to learn the patterns of how we talk and write. The thing is, they don't actually think. They're just unbelievably good at predicting the next word in a sentence, which lets them create brand new, coherent stuff from a simple prompt.
So, we have these incredibly powerful tools, but, and this is a big but, using them without really understanding the risks is like trying to navigate a minefield blindfolded. Let's talk about some of those hidden dangers that every single writer needs to be aware of.
Researchers have basically flagged three huge problems. First, because the AI learns from text that already exists, it can accidentally plagiarize something or even violate copyright. Second, it can have what people call AI hallucinations, which is a fancy way of saying it just confidently makes stuff up. And third, and this is a big one, it is notoriously awful with references.
Let's just hang on that reference problem for a second, because the reality here is pretty shocking. One study had ChatGPT generate some medical papers, and the result? Get this. A staggering 93% of the references it provided were either inaccurate or just completely fabricated. Only 7% were real and correct. 7.
And this brings us to what is probably the most important rule of all. The AI is a tool. It is not your co-author. No matter what it spits out, you, the human author, are always 100% accountable for the final work. Every word, every fact, every single citation. It's all on you.
Okay, so if the risks are that big, how are we supposed to use these tools ethically? Well, the answer isn't to just ban them entirely, but to really understand their proper place. And luckily, researchers have already developed a framework to help us figure this out.
You know what's kind of funny? When researchers asked ChatGPT itself how it should be used for academic writing, it came up with this pretty confident-sounding list. It suggests it can help with everything from literature reviews to interpreting data.
But here's the catch. Human experts took one look at that list and saw a huge problem. They said it massively oversimplifies some really complex ethical issues. They're warning that this kind of guidance is actually misleading, and that if we're going to use these tools responsibly, we need a much more thoughtful approach.
So, they came up with this. It's a 3-tiered framework, and it's designed to sort the different uses of AI into buckets. What's ethically acceptable, what's ethically contingent, which means it kind of depends on how you do it, and what is ethically suspect.
Tier 1 is the safe zone. Think of the AI here as a grammar and spell checker on steroids. It's taking text that you have already created, and it's just helping you polish it. The main thing here is that the core ideas, the critical thinking, and the voice are all yours to begin with. Now, Tier 2. This is the ethical gray area. Maybe you ask the AI to generate an outline from a bunch of your notes, or to summarize a really dense passage you wrote. This can be okay, but it's contingent on one really important thing: massive human oversight. You have to be in the driver's seat, making sure the core ideas and insights are still yours.
And then there's Tier 3. This is the danger zone, and these activities are strongly discouraged. This is where you're basically outsourcing your brain, asking the AI to write a section from scratch, interpret your data, or do a literature review for you. This is a bad idea not just because it risks huge errors, but because it short-circuits the very process of critical thinking that is essential for real learning.
So a framework is great, but how do you actually apply it when you're staring at a blank page? You need a practical tool. And that's exactly where this 4-question checklist comes in. It's something you can use every single time you sit down to write.
The researchers basically boiled that whole framework down into this simple 4-question flowchart. It's designed to be your personal guide to kind of walk you through the ethical questions before, during, and after you use an AI tool in your writing. The first, and honestly, the most important question you have to ask yourself is this: is the core thinking in this paper really mine? Are the main ideas, the analysis, the unique insights, are they coming from my brain, or am I just echoing the machine?
Second, you have to think about your own growth as a writer and a researcher. Is this tool actually helping me get better,
Or is it just becoming a crutch? Are you using it in a way that's stopping you from learning the skills you're supposed to be developing?
Third, and this one is completely non-negotiable, have you acted as the ultimate fact-checker? Remember that 7% number? Have you personally verified every single fact, every figure, and every reference the AI gave you to make sure it's actually real?
And finally, are you being transparent about it? Most academic journals and universities require this now anyway. Just like you'd cite the software you use for your statistics, you have to disclose how and where you use generative AI in your work. It's all about honesty.
So all of this really brings us to the future, because this technology is not standing still, and that means our approach to using it ethically can't afford to either.
As these AI models get more and more sophisticated, that line between being a helpful tool and an ethical nightmare is just going to keep shifting. And that's why we all have to keep this conversation going, to make sure our ethical rules can actually keep up with the speed of technology. And that leaves us with this final, really important thought. AI offers an amazing shortcut for producing text, no doubt, but the real work of writing and research, the struggle, the deep thinking, the aha moments, that's a process. And as we start to use these incredible tools, we have to ask ourselves, how do we make sure we don't outsource the very skills that make us good researchers, writers, and thinkers in the first place?